Oki Nixokoa. Istidaniko Iniskimaki. Hello. My name is Buffalo Stone Woman. I want to recognize that today we stand here on Treaty 7 territory, and I want to thank the ancestors and the elders and the families whose generosity and prayer have all brought us here today. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So Hanya, thank you. An artist, a mother, and a full-time human being. I think anything that can be said in 140 characters is all that's worth its saying, unless it's in the silence of deep listening. Those experiences and roles have led me to what I do and what I have discovered about life and art's reflection of it. My practice requires long, long periods of solitude, and I cannot work without music. So like many artists, I'm completely committed to a talk-free zone. Creatively, with verbal interruptions, that creative spirit vanishes. At 50 years of age this year, I have 3 children, 2 sons from my first marriage who are 18 and 14, and I have a daughter who turns 7 today. You can do the math. The arts are an essential language within our family, and my creative practice and my family would not be what they are without this language, because my son Ben, my beautiful, beautiful son Ben, has a learning disability. And the language of the arts have unlocked a door to other ways of listening, expressing and communicating for him that just completely transcend words. There's a translation from the spoken and written word to other methods of communication that must occur in his brain in order for him to make sense of the world. And because of his visual and tactile conceptual layer are the strongest, his kind of thinking does not fit within the same learning box as the average student. Navigation in a spoken world and a written world leaves little room for the quality of communication that is true. And that compass only comes from the silence of listening. Uncovering pathways which have helped him to create his own learning success have given me new insight into the creative process and into myself as well. Music moves through my eldest son, Jake. Deep listening has transformed him, and he speaks music fluently and instantaneously. And this is our little magical household fairy, Grace. She's the art one, and having had her late in life was a tremendous gift. And she is a true muse, and all of my children teach me. I'm fortunate to have been adopted twice in my life, once as a baby and once as an adult, once in the East and once here in the West 4 years ago. I have 2 families, 2 cultures, twice as much love, and 2 names, Janice Elizabeth Tanton and Iniskimaki. This dual identity and family causes me to occupy a constant state of translation. This is my second dad, Elder Tom Cranebear of the Siksika Nation on the Blackfoot Confederacy. Tom adopted me in the Blackfoot tradition in a ceremony to replace his eldest daughter, who had died alone in a hotel room in Vancouver from an overdose. And this is the beginning of a sad story. Tom had 9 biological children. 6 of them are dead through suicide, through alcohol and drug abuse. 6 of them. That's twice as many children as I have. And just the thought of losing one of my babies strikes terror in my heart. This is a cold legacy of assimilation policy. The cruelest weapon used was the Canadian residential school system, and we have all of us inherited its results. Truth and reconciliation is something that as a people together we sorely need to address, that we need to heal it together, and it's not okay anymore or acceptable to say, this is a government problem. This is an Indian problem. If one of us falls, we all fall. I have big thoughts about this and how we build relationships and how we heal and how we create community together. And I'm compelled to find a common ground for both cultures and teachings and to create a fusion within complex family relationships. And I'm compelled to boldly communicate these truths in my artwork. It is both a painful and yet a beautiful place to occupy. This translational space has taught me how to extend my love and my empathy beyond that of my immediate family to human beings everywhere, to the earth, to anything that lives, a stone. And that's all within a larger family. O ki nixokwa, all my relations. Through this metamorphosis of becoming an artist, a mother, and a full-time human being, I found a universal language, one where everyone can actively play together without talking through deep listening and communicating by using other senses. Artfully, it's designed specifically with intention to establish meaningful relationships in community and respecting individual gifts. Artists observe and comment on the culture around them, creating new things. We comprehend and reflect our world through multiple ways of knowing, through seeing, through hearing. I have what someone in my family sitting in the back would describe as an obsessive curiosity into my own process as an artist. You know, like, why does the music have such a strong impact on me when I'm painting? And why do I just know sometimes that things are going to happen? And why would I choose certain colors in one mood and not in another? And why can some folks excel in areas of creativity and then fail miserably in others? What's the science? Is there a proof? Is there a proof to this strange language of creativity? And for years, I read everything that I could on the science of the senses and the brain and a thirst to understand myself and those around me. And I peered into a seething pool of math and geometry and deeply into Pythagorean theory and Fibonacci numbers, just so I could understand. And that totally cracked that code for me, that scientific relationship between visual and musical composition, the essence of sense and connection. Numbers unlocked the combination into a stunning, spiraling mystery for me as to the common elements between, say, for instance, a rock, a human being, and a tree. One universal equation. I came to understand what Galileo had meant when he said, mathematics is the language with which God has written the universe. Language, God's language, the Creator's language. And I felt in my soul that science alone could not explain the ability to make something new from nothing. That I felt in my heart that there was something very spiritual and very spirit-full about making a mark, a sound, or a movement with intention, something that was uniquely human. For this, I returned to my Indigenous family and ways of knowing, and here, with elders and children, I found great wisdom. In 2008, I met the Koori cohort of researchers, a group of amazing Australian Aboriginal PhD and master's students who were visiting Canada on a cross-cultural exchange. They were professional artists, singers, musicians, dancers, educators, Indigenous and not, all together. And they're now my new family, all the way across on the other side of the world. From this group, I learned that my own artistic process had a name: Gulpanawa, Nida Bischit, Dadiri. Australian Aboriginal elder, artist and educator Auntie Miriam Rose Ungamar describes Didiri as the quality of inner deep listening and quiet, still awareness. Didiri helps in living in two worlds. It's not an Aboriginal specialty. Everyone has got it. That's how she says it. Deep listening respectfully with all of your senses in ways that build understanding and a sense of community. Understanding Didiri came together for me in a thunderous revelation while I was watching these two guys, Mike Jordan and Steve Settergreen. They're two jazz musicians, and they were skillfully demonstrating deep listening in a conversational performance. And I knew instantly what they were saying with that piano and those drums. And I had this overwhelming physical reaction, a desperate need to be a part of that conversation and smash that fourth wall that exists between an audience and a performer, and to express the colors and the form that I heard visually in music. And I realized I'd felt it before, at home, alone in my studio, and in the stands at the powwow, with the drums beating and singers wailing, and color and movement of the dancers before me. Oh, if you've never been to a powwow, you need to go to a powwow. I wanted to be able to paint and dance and sing, and to belong to that community and to that conversation. And this feeling was way beyond words. It was so beautiful. I couldn't contain the emotion, and I sat in the audience, in the dark, in the theater, like you are now, and I cried, because I realized that what was so old to us had to be relearned again. And so the first community fusion session was born. We broke the barriers between performance and audience, and we gathered together artists, musicians, songwriters, singers, didgeridoo players, drummers, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, academics, and my family, and with the pure intent to converse with each other, unrehearsed in our own specific language, and what we each spoke and knew best. It was a massive, seething petri dish of creativity. So we communicated in real time, improvisationally, and with what we heard, what we saw, what we smelled, right within that room. And it was exhausting, and it was about a 2-hour period of no talking. We created and discovered some beautiful things together. And Ben found his voice in the didgeridoo and in the drums. Safe space is paramount. All generations should be present. Children and elders are much closer to the Creator and to creation itself. And so our children show us every day how to authentically play, and our elders give us a sense of permission and a safety to do so. This is a very primal, instinctual, and human way to communicate. Creativity is increased and accelerated exponentially. Profound relationships are just completely formed, and community is born. And after this gathering of professional artists and musicians, I thought to myself, I wonder if this will transfer to regular folk, civilians. Yes. So from Canada to Australia and Los Angeles, we've held community fusion sessions, and folks are starving for this kind of connection. They're fearless, they're creative, and they're full of trust. We create a nest to play filled with an abundance of artistic tools. We explore, converse, and comment without talking. We connect. Deeply listening with all your senses in our heart, we intentfully move forward to create a kinship of trust. Every session has its own lyrical variants and yet produces the same outcomes. And everyone has a voice. People who are strangers create a unified community together just a short 2 hours later. And yes, you absolutely create a family. My prayer for all people is to listen deeply, dance, sing, paint, find and discover an art form that connects you to others. Toss away your fears, be like a child again, and play, experiment. Speak the language of the Creator. Speak the language with the Creator, with each other. Oki Nixokua, all my relations. Thank you.